We will also see mobile networks starting to encapsulate and offer services that have been offered by other networks before. I think two extraordinary good examples of that is in Europe, where we have had GSMR for railways and we have had TETRA for first responders. We are still using and deploying those systems. They were specified or standardized in the beginning of the 90s. So at the pace of innovation where we see technology now, we are convinced that there is a benefit of converting that into the same network. Again, that will put new and different requirements on the network. If you are having a first responder service on the network, of course, that is not the same as a traditional end consumer doing data browsing. But we will also see new services coming. And I think the obvious one, which we will talk about more, is AI. The way you build a network for AI and the way you use AI in the network, that will be a big, big change. So the question then becomes, what are we doing to enable this change? And I would say that we are doing 4 things. One, we are ensuring service awareness in RAN. And that is really about making sure that we both can measure and steer quality for individual flows. The second thing is about AI powering RAN. And here we use AI really across all the RAN stack, the full stack. But we also need to build it in such a way so that applications outside of RAN can use AI. And there it's about using open interfaces. It is about exposing the right information. And we are doing this really because we are convinced that in order to be the best, you need a lot of friends. And it's really sort of to get that innovation and make sure that we are part of that innovation. That is what is driving this strategy. Then, of course, we also need to simplify. I talked about going from 1 to 25 different services. Like, if you look in a RAN today, it's 1,000 and 1,000 of parameters. If you just scale with more and more services, managing that infrastructure will be enormously difficult. And regardless of how good you are, you will always be slow. So for us, creating automation, it's really about 2 things. One, creating simplicity. But secondly, and equally important, it's really to create the speed as well. So those are the things we are investing in. And then if you sum up, I'll go back to this soccer analogy. So if you look at what is the second half for Ericsson. So for us, the second half will be about AI. It will be about automation. And it will be about openness. And really, the reason for using this strategy in the second half is because we are convinced that that is what will lead us as winner in the end. So during the remaining part of this section today, we will go into each of this topic in more depth. And then at the end, we will sum up. So again, great to be here. I hope you enjoyed this session. So thank you.
Thank you, Johan. Super exciting, right? 25 new services in the second half. So that will be interesting to market and to bring to the customers and maybe to even charge, to maintain, to make sure that you deliver on the SLAs for those services. Yeah, that will be an interesting journey ahead of all of us in this industry. Part of that solution, to that problem, if we see it as a problem, it's also an opportunity, is of course AI RAN. So who is better to talk about AI RAN than Ericsson's expert in AI RAN? So we have the strategic product manager for AI RAN. I welcome Melike Erol Kantachi. Welcome.
Thank you very much, Hannah. Well, it's great to be here and talking about this exciting topic, the hottest topic on the planet, AI RAN, right? And it's a great opportunity to show you how we unlock business value in live networks today and how we prove that we are future ready. We are preparing our customers for the future. Now, as we all know, the society, us, we are going through a transformation. If we were having this session a year ago or more, I would just ask, how many of you are using AI in your daily lives, right? And then, writing emails, etc., wouldn't be even the question. But today, I could just say, how many of you aren't using AI in your daily lives, like writing emails or looking at meeting summaries or doing some, redundant jobs that you don't really need to worry about? I think a lot, right? We're going through a transformation. But now, with connectivity, cloud, and openness, we are moving into a new era where we can create the real value with the new use cases. And these new use cases come from domains like robotics, transportation, healthcare, and personal AI assistance. So all of these things are actually moving, unlocking new applications. Then what's our role at Ericsson? With our differentiated connectivity. So basically, one network, but for multiple purposes, we can unlock these new applications as they come along. And this is something we call as networks for AI. So how do networks help improving AI? And how do they help? How these both technologies help for the improvement, betterment of the society? That's one, I always like to tell it, like that's one side of the coin. At the other side of the coin, at the other face of the coin, we have AI for networks. And this is something I love talking about because that's what we do daily at Ericsson. That's my job, right? So if you look at this, I'm going to go back to the two paradigms that Johan mentioned, business transformation and operational transformation. So with the business transformation, with the performance enhanced with AI, we are enabling CSPs to unlock new opportunities. Then on the operational side, we are helping with AI and autonomous networks to reduce OpEx. So both of these things come together. And there's one point I'm not a person who likes to brag, but usually when it comes to this, I like to brag about it because our journey in AI started with 4G. We have widely deployed features in the field already, starting from that time. I know some of you don't like the word journey, but because of lack of a better word, I'm going to use this. So we started in 4G. We had like MIMO sleep feature, which helped energy savings, 14% energy savings in live networks. And now we're continuing our journey with 5G, with our new functionalities, AI native functionalities, and we're paving the way to 6G with those. Now, if we think about it, I think it's pretty amazing. And the amazing part of it is not that, one could do POCs or simulations. I come with a background. In another life, I'm a professor. So I know how simulations work, how these things work. But how things work in the telecom domain, how do you deploy features in a scalable way is totally different than doing POCs or simulations. And I think that's kind of the important thing that we should not miss when we think about the whole journey that carries us with the learnings from 4G to 5G and to 6G. So I'll talk a little bit about like, okay, then we have the journey, but what we have learned through the journey is actually we need telco AI models. Those models are lean and mean telco AI models that form the foundations of AI for networks. And thanks to these, we can make efficient AI models that are embedded into the RAN software and that can work efficiently on the hardware. When I say efficient, it's cost efficient and energy efficient, both of them, right? That's really important so that we can maximize the ROI, the return of investment for CSPs. But if I think about these functionalities, now I think it's good to give an example, and because I mean we can talk about various examples or some use cases that we can think of the whole day. But what really matters is once you have something deployed in the live network. And for that reason, we wanted to have our guest on stage with us. I want to invite now, with a round of applause, our guest. Welcome, Brett. Brett Stimpson, Director of Wireless Technology from Bell Canada, to tell us a bit about their vision and also how actually they decided to embark on the journey of AI native link adaptation, and then how their journey unfolded.
Thank you, Mel. Thank you, everybody. Can everybody hear me okay? Seems like I drew the short straw and got the mic here. So for those of you who don't know, Bell Canada, we're one of the largest Tier 1 operators in Canada. We're also one of the tech services leaders for the Canadian enterprise IT market as well. So we're quite a large company in Canada, but we're obsessive about building the best network and driving the best customer experience we can for all of our customers. But as we look forward to our vision, AI is integral or key to that journey, even though we're not using that word, to that journey going forward. And we aim to get to an L5 autonomous network at some point in the future, preferably sooner rather than later. But you could ask why we want to do that, and we really see kind of 4 reasons for that. So one is network complexity. As the network grows, as the technology evolves, we're finding complexity is also growing. So one of the key things to quell that complexity is to use AI. Another reason is new revenue. So as we see opportunities, we've recently released what we call our AI Fabric, which is a series of data centers delivering inference to our customers. We see new revenue opportunities. The third one, as I said, is customer experience. So we really see that AI can drive and improve customer experience, not only from a network performance perspective, but also from a interaction with those customers. And lastly, reduce costs. So we can see AI potentially saving us money, not only in things like energy efficiency, where we can drive down the amount of consumption, but also just, again, with that, what we call AI ops, or using AI to operate the network. But as we look into the future, what we see is really critical will be better spectral efficiency. We see that as a key thing. And I've been running wireless networks for a long time, and as I can see probably in the room by the amount of gray hair and no hair, you guys have been also running wireless networks for a long time. And one of the big head scratchers we come across often is signal quality can be perfect, and then all of a sudden there's just a drop off in performance. And it's happened repeatedly throughout my career. So you send in the team to investigate, to try and troubleshoot why. And sometimes this can be due to the link adaptation that is inherently in the radios themselves, where depending on the configuration or the approach you've decided, the algorithms can be very conservative. So they're playing it safe to avoid errors. They should be playing smart, right? So what we feel with things like this AI native link adaptation is this new intelligence can help us to avoid those dramatic swings up and down in performance. We can get towards a more intelligent approach instead of what we call a fixed rulebook approach, where we can adapt to the network behavior, the user behavior, the environment, all the millions of different parameters that happen in a real wireless network. So with the link adaptation, this was, we were one of the first operators globally to trial this, and with our partner here with Ericsson, especially with their Ottawa R&D group. So we're extremely proud of being on the technology forefront and driving this better customer experience and more efficiency for for our customers. But what's up on the slide, as you can see, we were able to, in our trial, achieve a 20% downlink throughput improvement. And in fact, some situations we saw even more than that. And with that, it gave us a 10% spectral efficiency boost, right? Which if you look into the amount of spectrum you would need to add or the number of towers you would need, you could really easily do a business case on how much 10% spectral efficiency is worth to you. But the actual trial itself was, we picked a live site in the network, and using the Ericsson baseband combined with a server, we were able to train the model based on live data from the network, and then feed that, that model, those parameters, those weights, back into the radio baseband to basically intelligently change the link adaptation algorithm as the behavior of the users changed. So it was very powerful, and you can see the results we had, but it's still, very much a trial. So as we look towards the future, the vision that we really have is around, how do we move this quickly to a production environment? This is potentially a game changer in terms of spectral efficiency and throughput, but also how do we fully integrate this into the basebands themselves as opposed to having additional servers that we need to do this? So how can we get to a more integrative native approach? And then, naturally, to add to this, I think the collaboration and the openness is going to be key as we evolve. The locked-in sort of proprietary solutions doesn't allow for the level and speed of innovation that I think will be necessary. So I think with those three things, that's really what I'm hoping for the vision and for the future of this solution.
Oh, thank you very much, Fred. I can take the mic from you. Thank you. It's very exciting, actually, to see how these AI native innovations play out in real networks, as I said, like starting from the baby steps and then running at full speed. Now I want to switch gears a little bit and talk about RAN automation. Now, we've talked about a success story. I feel like we need to talk about the secret sauce of things, right? So let's talk about how we enable autonomous networks through our architecture. So as you know, you experience in your day-to-day work, environments that we work in are becoming increasingly complex, where manual configurations, manual operations, and rule-based optimizations are no longer enough. So we need something smart, intelligent to help us. And that intelligence needs to be scalable. That's one of the key words. With our architecture, we actually allow AI and intelligence to be scalable. At the lower layer, we have a distributed automation that's embedded inside the RAN software. On top of it, we have centralized automation that's enabled by the SMO platform and the RApps. And the difference between these two layers, or dual layers as we call them, is that they work at different time scales and they work in different domains. So if you look at the RAN, distributed RAN automation, it's from microseconds to the milliseconds level. These are like real-time decisions, real-time automations that you need to make. And this is usually where human intervention is not really possible because things are happening at a very fast speed. Then when we come to the centralized automation side, it's a broader view of the network, right? You can control, you can see more nodes, and you can think about decisions. So algorithms actually can take their time. They can think about in seconds or sometimes 2 days, 2 weeks to do some planning type of works to be able to sort of come up with the best, let's say, antenna positions or stuff like that. But there are still things that kind of needs to happen in between the time scales that these two layers needs to be coordinated. So how do we manage, like with the intent, with the introduction of intent, and then the observability coming up from the RAN to have an end-to-end intelligence stack, I would call it. So with this, we enable the CSPs to be intent-driven and to reduce basically OpEx for them. And not just reducing the OpEx, it's also about rolling out the innovations. So imagine you're setting up a slice, or you have a desired outcome as an intent. Then it shouldn't take a lot of time, right? You shouldn't waste time in writing the scripts. You should focus on the desired outcome, and automatically the scripts or the configurations should be coming up. So this, with the automation side, becoming intent-driven, and also allowing for less time to value, are the objectives behind this. But having spoken about the distributed side of things, I want to also invite a colleague of mine, head of SMO, Rodrigo Correa, to help me talk a little bit about the centralized part and also intent-drivenness. Welcome, Rodrigo. A round of applause for Rodrigo. So, Rodrigo, I'm sure you got tons to tell us about centralized automation. But I have a question for you. I'm wondering, what's really holding back operators from automating their RAN today? Where are we today?
Right. If you allow me, I'll rephrase your question a little bit. I think operators are automating the RAN today, right? We just saw a case here that you just presented, and you're going to see other success cases, right? And I think the question is how to take it to the next level, how to take it to a much larger scale. And some years ago, I would start talking about architecture and technology. But I think we have evolved a lot in terms of technology, especially with data management evolution and with AI as well. So we have the technology for very advanced automation. In architecture, we have also evolved a lot. With SMO and R apps, we have a standardized architecture that enables this innovation. And we have standardized interfaces that allow these applications to be created, to be rolled out, and to be reportable. So we have it in place, we have a very strong foundation in place, and we see it happening in different CSPs that are bringing more and more automation, more centralized automation to run. What we need to talk a little bit about more is how do we take this to the next level of scale. And that's more about processes and tooling around the rollout of these applications, is how can we bring these applications from lab to production really, really fast. And that's something that we've been discussing here in FYUZ, and is a topic that we as an industry need to continue focusing on to enable CSPs to bring more and more applications fast to their networks. Now, Mel, you talked a bit about intent, and you mentioned intent, how intent will change a bit how the CSPs interact with the network. But could you deep dive a little bit more on how it affects the management of the RAN itself?
I can do that. And now that you ask it, I can't think if I like talking more about AI or intent side of it, because I love talking about intent as well. So, but let's define intent, right? What is intent? So as a CSP, you have a desired goal, objective in mind, and that could be maximize my throughput, minimize my latency in a certain region. Let's say there's a Taylor Swift concert happening next day in Dublin, and then you need to configure your network. Normally what would happen is there would be some manual configurations. There's, of course, a bit of innovation around automation, bits and pieces like tools, etc. But if you think about it, they're very scattered. So if you take the intent concept, it combines them in a pot. So the CSP just defines the desired outcome for the Taylor Swift event that's happening at a certain time, at a certain place, with certain objectives, right? Then you take this, as Ericsson, we take this and we do the configuration. So the how part is actually on the software, and to do it intelligently with the software. So all of these things actually allow CSPs to focus on what they want to achieve and what they want to monetize, rather than how they will monetize.
Right. It's also interesting to reflect a little bit on the role of that centralized layer on intent management, because now with a lot of different intent management functions, not only in the RAN but also in the R apps, is that centralized layer that coordinates between these different intent management functions to ensure that we have no overlap between them. And also to be able to report and observe on the fulfillment or not of that intent from RAN. So aggregated view of that intent from RAN, right? I think that is another aspect to take into account, right?
Absolutely. I think it's good that you mentioned observability, because they go hand in hand, right? But then, let me ask you, maybe I know the answer of this one, but why should operators choose Ericsson for their RAN automation?
Yeah, I think we would agree in the answer, right? I think what Ericsson provides is a very comprehensive solution, right? We have the intelligence in the RAN and the automation in the RAN, and we also have the automation in the centralized layer. So we have the two possible different implementations for your automation. We have them implemented in a way where they coexist and they collaborate together for high performance. We also have a lot of openness. We have open platforms and multi-vendor platforms that enable flexibility. So I would say the Ericsson solutions bring high performance and flexibility that would allow you to have applications in different scenarios fulfilling the needs of different CSPs. Don't know if you'd have anything to add, Mel.
Well, I think that was a great explanation. Like you explained the dual architecture, the distributed centralized, how the intents go, and how basically orchestration and having end-to-end solutions, the importance of that. Yeah, wonderful.
Thank you. It was great to be here with you, Mel. Now I think we're going to talk a little bit more about the ecosystem and the centralized automation. So thank you for being here.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Oh, before you go, I need to ask you another question. How does the clicker works?
It's with AI.
Yes, I press the green button, right? So going next now, I'm going to talk a little bit about the EIAP ecosystem. But before I talk about the EIAP ecosystem, I might remind you of what is EIAP. So EIAP is an open platform for RAN automation and for multi-vendor RAN automation that we have implemented following the O-RAN concept, but also extended purpose-built RAN for any vendor. So the EIAP ecosystem is an open ecosystem with multiple apps being developed in it, and I would like to go through some highlights of this ecosystem. So we are definitely the #1 ecosystem in the industry. We had 13 different third-party demos in Mobile World Congress this year of different R apps. We have run a very important autonomous network proof point in DTW and won the prize for that, which was absolutely fantastic for us. The numbers in the ecosystem are growing really, really quickly. So today we have 84 members. That's 65 independent software vendors and 19 CSPs. We have 73 R apps that are published today, and that R apps are 20 from Ericsson, and the other ones are from other companies. We have a developer community that has almost 2,100 developers. I would say from the day that I submitted these numbers, we are probably over the 2,100, so we are very close to that. And we also have 32 different as-a-service environments running today. So these as-a-service environments are what we call the developer labs. So these are environments that we put in place for the R app developers to validate and test their R apps. And there are all these different companies can use these environments. They can also use our developer portal. They can discuss in the community and exchange ideas. It's like a forum. And they can also use our generative AI developer assistant. Now, you heard a lot from us. And I think it's time to hear a little bit more about someone that's using this ecosystem and is innovating a lot with this ecosystem. So I welcome to the stage Nick Thompson from AT&T. It's great to have you here, Nick. It's great to have you. So I have a few questions for Nick in my branded card here that I'm feeling very fancy with it. And my first question to you, Nick, is how is AT&T utilizing EIAP and the EIAP ecosystem today? What are you guys doing right now with it?
The truth?
Yes, absolutely the truth.
Well, we've been implementing over the course of the past year EIP in our network, but we've started with a couple of our apps that are our own making internal to the network. Stuff that's trusted, tried, and true, that we know the business logic of it. But what we're looking at with what the platform gives us is agility. Maintaining those existing automations that we've developed in-house, it's not cheap, right? The developers that we have previously provided for in-house development for those R apps, they grow large, they grow very specific to AT&T, and that can have a life of its own. So what we're looking for with the new ecosystem is more agility, more ability to bring the innovations from outside of just AT&T, because we are a old telecom company, and we have a lot, like I said, the joke made before with the gray hair and the lack of hair in the industry. Some of the ideas that we saw at the hackathon last night are new and innovative, and how do we bring those ideas into the ecosystem? And EIP is kind of what our vehicle is for that.
It's really, really great to hear that. And would you have a highlight or something that you would like to mention that you said that was a great moment that we had until now? Any special moment?
The introduction of new vendors that we had, up until this point, getting a vendor that had a great idea into the ecosystem, they had to know it's still a certain amount of having to know somebody, but even the bar of entry was very high. It was going to have to be something that we were going to have to bring into the software that we have. So whether it was Ericsson or Nokia or Andrew or Airspan, we had to bring that into that ecosystem. Whereas with this new SMO that we have, we can bring that in directly and do trials much more quickly than we could have otherwise.
Yeah, that's great. When I reflect about it, for me, the moment that we started to have the R apps on lab, and when we had the second R app, I think the second was better than the first, because now we could say it's plural, it's R apps, So that was for me like a great moment when we started to have that on the labs. That was fantastic for me. But then, what are you looking forward to? What are the great benefits that you see and the main opportunities that you look forward, that you think that's where we need to go? That's the ambition of AT&T with this platform.
I think the success we've had thus far generates momentum. We're starting to see it even within AT&T. The other parts of our, the core and transport part of our organizations are recognizing what this can do. So they're starting to lean to us and say, how do we get into this? Because they do see that the SMO can't just be ran if we really want. It's when we get into differentiated services, it needs to include the other components of the network. So we're seeing that internally, which, even amongst internal siloed, organizations, that's a glimmer of light that you're starting to see that the walls of the silos are coming down, and they're looking to combine forces in this domain. So that the second piece of this is, there's a large push, obviously, to leverage AI for any of the carriers trying to differentiate themselves amongst one another. And we as AT&T have a lot of internal materials or internal data, things that we utilize, but the SMO ends up being, with EIP, gives us the ability to leverage that with AI. And that's a key point of what we're looking forward to as we look on to the next, you say 3 to 5 years, but you're hoping you get it in the next 6 months, that we can actually implement something that makes AT&T different than the other carriers, leveraging this platform.
Yes, and I think we have been doing a lot together on the data management space, on having that unified data layer for you to innovate more and more. So I think that's really important and brings a lot of opportunities to you, right?
Yep, correct.
So it was great to have this short conversation. I really, really enjoyed. I hope the audience have enjoyed as well. And I think I hand over to you, Hannah, now.
Yes, you do.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Good. So now it's time for a little bit of energy in the room. We've been here for a while, so we need to make sure that everyone stays energized. So we start with movement. How many were here last year? FYUZ 2024, hands up. Okay, about half, I would say. So from that session, from 2024, we got an enormous amount of feedback. And a lot of it was around the fish. Last year, there was Swedish fish sent around in the room. And as we, now are here in 2025, of course, we listen, right? So we listen to feedback. So there's going to be fish sent out in the room. So just help yourselves to a little bit of a sugar rush. But we, as Ericsson, we also want to over-deliver. So we have now expanded the menu to be kind of like a complete Swedish smorgasbord. We added the lingonberries. So now it's even a bit of a wider circle of intake. But there's also been discussions around autonomy, right? And we have to, of course, bring the most purchased car in Sweden. It's the most purchased car in Sweden. And the reason for this was also that the EU decided that they're going to cut the fish quotas. So we had to expand a bit to go to lingonberries and cars. So hope you will get a little bit of sweets coming around to you. And while you get that, there is a bit of a fun fact around the cars. They're quite famous. And these cars are the only chewy substance of this type that has been to space. Who could have thought, right? So Sweden is this tiny little country up north, right? Well, Ireland isn't so big either, but we're not that many. So who could have thought that Sweden has 3 astronauts in space, have had 3 astronauts in space? And one of them, the first one, who happened to be my college professor, I was extremely starstruck when he notified us that he wasn't going to teach us anymore. He's going to space. He brought these cars with him to space. So there's a quite famous YouTube video. You can watch Christer Fuglesang eat cars, the most purchased car in Sweden in space. Good. With that, I can hear, they're also very autonomous because you can't stop eating. Once you start, you can't stop. And they're magic because once you start eating, you have to be quiet because you can't talk. So there's a lot of power in those. Now, we do have 1 block left. If you remember, I said we start with the vision. We go then to AI, which is, super interesting and super, on everyone's mind. Then we went into the RAN automation, the more centralized and the distributed automation with Melike and Rodrigo and our partners. And now there's one thing left, right? It's not just the cars and the lingonberries and the fish. We have the openness left. So I would like to welcome on stage the Ericsson expert in Open RAN, David Bladsjö.
Now it is. So thanks, Hanna. I did not have any cars, so I can speak. That's good. But I hope you enjoyed the can-do. As Hanna said, I will continue the last part of this block, so we'll talk a bit about openness. And my name is David Bladsjö. I'm a senior manager in the product line software, reporting to Johan Hotel here, working a lot on openness and Cloud RAN in the Ericsson team. And I will also bring back to stage quite soon, again, Nick coming back again, talk about openness, and also Dr. Femi Adeyemi from Onfinity, so we'll talk a bit about Open Frontal with him. So then coming into openness, we at Ericsson typically talk about the 3 pillars of openness. We have the sort of open management and automation part, which we talked about so far in the session quite a bit. And then we have the 2 other pillars, which is open interfaces, and we have the cloudification, or basically disaggregation between the RAN stack and the hardware. So we're going to double click a bit more on those 2 other pillars that we haven't talked so much about yet. And starting then with the cloudification part, the hardware and software disaggregation. This is all about going Cloud RAN. And for Ericsson, when we do that, we are looking a lot on our sort of existing RAN software portfolio. When we disaggregate, of course, customers would like to bring on the Ericsson RAN stack onto a open software platform and an open hardware platform as well. And while they do that, of course, they don't want to sacrifice anything about the performance and the richness of features from the RAN. So, of course, they want all the same and good capabilities that they have been enjoying so far in the traditional purpose-built domain. So when we are building Cloud RAN and we're porting our RAN stack onto the open hardware and software platforms and the container cloud platforms, we want to make sure we have a good set of reuse of the software stack so we can bring out the same good feature set on cloud and purpose-built. And the way we approach that is that we have a very high degree of reuse from layer 2 and up, basically RC Mac upwards. We have a high degree of reuse regardless of platform, from purpose-built into the cloud run. And of course, when it comes to the layer 1, which is more compute heavy, it's a bit more complicated to port. There we are also reusing as much as we can, but we have a slightly different sort of approach from purpose-built and cloud run. In purpose-built, we of course build this on top of our own ASICs to get maximum performance out of the network. And on the cloud run solution, we are building most of the stack as an all-soft implementation and only offloading the most critical parts and the most heavy compute parts of the stack onto the accelerator. And in the case of, for example, Intel, we're using the VRAM boost instruction set to offload complicated tasks like channel decoding, for example. And what that does basically is that it provides a fairly thin sort of interface towards the underlying platform. We don't get as dependent on the platform as if you would have done it more sort of deeply into the stack. And that gives us portability, which is a very, very important part of bringing out Cloud Run. So today, we build, of course, a commercial solution on top of Intel. We have the VRAM boost. We have the look-aside acceleration. That's our product that we're bringing out today commercially to our operators. But we also proven throughout the years, the last couple of years, that we can easily port this onto different platforms also. So we've been doing at NWC, we've been doing demos on AMD, we've been doing prototyping on ARM, and we're also doing prototyping on NVIDIA platforms, just to make sure we can prove, and both to ourselves and to our customers, that we have a highly portable software stack. And that's, of course, very important because, as you all know, it's a very dynamic environment today. There's a lot of things happening in the industry. So while we're pretty certain about our current selection of the commercial track of Intel, we do need to stay prepared for changes if something would happen to the industry or if our customer would demand something completely different. Then we have the portability. So that's extremely important for both us and, of course, our customers, so that they know when they buy our software stack, they have a future-proof solution. So that's really Cloud Run, and that's the sort of software hardware disaggregation and the portability of that solution. Then coming over to the other part, and open interfaces, and maybe more specifically the open frontal interfaces. Here we've been doing a lot of progress the last years. We've been, of course, working for several years to improve the stack or the standard itself. We now have quite many options, I would say, in the ORAN specifications about open frontal. And I think we made as an industry, very, very important sort of addition in 2023 when we added this, what they call the uplink performance improvement specs. And that was a key for basically Ericsson to embrace ORAN or open frontal fully. So we're actually now building open frontal in both the purpose-built and Cloud Run products. In fact, for Cloud Run, there's only one interface towards the radio in Cloud Run product, and that's the open frontal spec. So open frontal-based, OLS-based radios. And we are focusing very much on, of course, for remote radios, the Cat A. That's been sort of the obvious choice for a long time. And when it comes to the massive MIMO portfolio, we are focusing on what we call the Cat B Class A type of spec, because that's where we think we have the best performance. We know we have the best performance out of the spec there, which matches also what we have in terms of performance for our legacy proprietary frontal. So that's going to be our sort of focus when it comes to commercial implementation and deployment of open frontal for the massive MIMO radios. The good thing also with the Cat B Class A is also that it's not only a high-performing sort of spec, it's also, we believe, a more interoperable spec, because you collect, or you put more of the both the channel coding, channel estimations, and also equalization inside the radio, and that's a more clear separation of concern between the radio and the DU. So we also believe that this is going to be a more interoperable interface, and hence we also believe that the industry is going to move towards this spec as we go forward. Now, of course, interoperability is not trivial. It's a highly complex interface, the open frontal. And to make this happen, it requires quite a bit of work. We have started now more on the remote radio side, so the Cat-A sort of specs. And as you might remember, a year ago, we announced a partnership with AT&T Onefinity to start to work on an actual implementation and interoperability project together to get this out to the field. And as you might have seen, we recently now, through AT&T, announced that we have made this work and actually have it first radio deployed in field with AT&T. So now, actually 1 year later, we're actually proving that we can do this. We have it out in field. We have a remote radio Class A, or Cat-A, sorry, out in field together with Onefinity. And that has been a key to succeed, actually. So as I said, it's not a trivial task. It requires a lot of iterations between the companies to make this work, and a very, very deep collaboration. So from this to work in practice, we need to have a very, very deep collaboration and a high degree of trust between the companies. So I think when we talk about making openness happen and succeed in practice, it's a very, very strong key to actually have a good cooperation with the partners you're working with. That is a key enabler. And the trust is there, of course. We exchange a lot of information, and we make it work over time, of course, by doing so. So I think that's the key to make it happen. And then, of course, it's always a bit more difficult the first time. So once we make this happen, of course, it probably got to be slightly easier next time. But again, a good partnership is the key. And therefore, I think I wanted to come into our guests here then to get them onto stage. So Nick and Femi, please come to stage, and we can talk a bit about this project in practice. So starting with you, Nick, I guess AT&T, you recently made a big announcement that you made this work now, so you have a first radio out in field in your network. So I guess the first question to you is sort of what does it mean for AT&T, and what's the key takeaway from this?
I mean, the big win for it is one, that we got it done, but also, you know, the history of mixed vendors within even AT&T has been mixed. You know, we've tried this in, you know, a decade past under CIPRI standards, and it's always had a troubled past with implementing the current O-RAN standards and the efficiency by which we got it from the point that we announced we were going to do it to the point that we got it on air, and all the things that go into making that happen. It gives us confidence now that we can do this more rapidly and repetitively going forward.
All right, thank you, Nick. And Femi, thanks a lot for the good cooperation here last year. So given that now you have this already integrated with AT&T, sort of what's your sort of key takeaway, and what has been sort of the biggest takeaway from and hurdles you've seen throughout our collaboration the last year or two?
Thank you. So just a little bit of housekeeping. On this stage last year, I was Femi Adeyemi from Fujitsu.
Yes.
But today, I'm Femi Adeyemi from Onefinity. No, it's still the same company. What we have done is to collapse all our network divisions into one group under this umbrella of Onefinity. So about a year ago, we stood on this stage to say we're going to do this with AT&T and Ericsson as our partner. And I'm happy to report that we have actually done it. We've achieved that first goal. We demonstrated that it's possible. It was a deep collaboration with Ericsson. Our global teams, whether that's from US, Sweden, Japan, we were able to work together to bring about this third-party radio being part of a bigger network. So it's not just that we're performing a science project, it's that we're actually working towards something that will be operationalized and be part of a major network. It was not easy as we envisioned this to be a plug and play. In some cases, it amounts to plug and pray. But we've done this. We were very confident that we could do it from our side because we've done it with many integrations with others, And we were bringing that to the table that we could do this with Ericsson. And so far, so good. We've demonstrated that this can work in the lab, and now we've put it in the field. We've put together 2 different radios, 2 different configurations that we will roll into the market shortly.
All right, thank you. Thanks. It's very happy to hear that. It's a great moment, actually. So it's good that we have it live and up and running.
Amen.
So follow-up question, Femi. So now that we have this in operation with Ericsson and with AT&T, how do you see it sort of means? What does it mean for the broader CSP community, and how do you see this sort of going forward now?
So we like I said, we've done this with others before. The new thing about this is we had operationalizing this in focus, that this can scale from customer to customer. And so as we were doing all of this, we were documenting this so that even for AT&T, it would be easy if they want to bring a third-party radio into their network. And for Ericsson, if the wish is there to leverage what we've already done, you can also take that globally. So that operationalizing aspect of it was very important, that we were able to document what worked well, what have we not been able to successfully done. So from think about this, management point of view, now a third-party radio could be managed from EIAP. From a security point of view, whether that's TLS or any other security functions can be performed. That gives operators like AT&T a great confidence that this will work in their network, it will not disrupt, which is what a lot of other organizations have always worried about. Can I bring a third party in, do the mix and match, multi-vendor? We've proven that that can work, and now it can scale.
Yeah, thanks a lot. And I think we have time for one more question, actually. So, Nick, turn actually back to the third pillar of openness, so the cloudification and disaggregation of sort of hardware and software. How does AT&T sort of see this playing out? Because you've been one of the leaders when it comes to getting early onto Cloud RAN and getting this rolling as soon as possible. So how do you see this sort of playing out in your network, and what's the sort of key value for you as an operator?
Yeah, we've kind of looked at Cloud RAN, for a long time as an enabler. In that, the demand or the push for that enabler is accelerated as we get into things like AI RAN and AI just in general. It's difficult for a brownfield operator to transition from tried and true, purpose-built into this domain. But our activity and our success this year in getting Cloud RAN on the air, taking live traffic is evidence that we can not only get it delivered, but also that we can work through the operational challenges and the risks that come with it. Not to say that it's all everything is solved yet. We have a lot. There's much to be done. A big part of that as well, even just within AT&T, our security posture over the last year is advanced, and being able to deliver all of this within that security posture means that we're serious about making sure that even though it is agile and is open, that it's also secure, that it just simply doesn't open the door to other attacks.
All right. Well, thanks a lot, both Nick and both Femi, for coming up to stage here and join me. So.
Thank you so much, David.
Thank you.
This was great. Now, if you remember when we first sat down here a little more than an hour ago, I said that we will have these blocks. We will talk about the vision, then we'll talk about AI, then we talked about the automation piece, and now the openness. So now we will round this up, and we will look a little bit towards the future. So I would like to invite Rob Sony from AT&T, and I would like to have Johan Hultell back on stage, please. You get an applause too. So I have a couple of questions for you, gentlemen. Yeah?
Apparently I missed the rehearsal, so I don't know why.
Oh, sorry.
You have to.
Yeah.
We're agile. So the first question goes to you, Rob. So can you give us a brief overview of how far has now AT&T come on this, I shouldn't say journey, right? So I have to say on this transformation towards an open and high-performing programmable network, and which key milestones are sticking out for you?
Yeah, I think, first of all, thank you for inviting me to participate here today. Appreciate the collaboration. Apparently, I found out I'm not allowed to use the word partner.
Oh.
Don't ask why. But collaboration, strong collaboration with the folks from the Ericsson team. Really appreciate you all. Paul, Johan, definitely appreciate you giving me the opportunity to talk a little bit about what we were up to, and really to make sure that people are still clear on what our intent was overall in this deal, landmark deal that we signed with Ericsson almost 2 years ago now. So for us, it is about a bunch of things. It isn't just about openness, not that openness isn't important to us, but it was very important, for example, for us to aggressively grow out our footprint on mid-band TDD, to provide that high capacity layer for our customers. We have been aggressively building out on spectrum that we had that was not lit up, and we've been now able to provide coverage, significant increase in the coverage where we can now address subscribers with mid-band TDD frequencies, and we should finish that sometime next year. So that should be significant in terms of the uplift that it will bring to our subscribers. And then some of you may have also heard about the $23 billion in spectrum that we acquired from our friends at EchoStar. This is also a significant uplift to us in terms of what we're now able to provide in terms of user experience. It puts us in a position to win. And that's really what this deal is all about, and what we also fundamentally have been focused on overall with the modernization program, is moving us forward to be able to win with new services, new capabilities, and finally also make sure 5G SA capability is ubiquitously available. So we also announced the nationwide availability of 5G SA, which is important because now we have those devices that many folks will be wearing on their wrists, which are 5G SA capable. So this is another big deal, momentous moment. So far, I'm just talking about us being able to leverage at scale the ability to roll out and provide capabilities to our subscribers that we think are valuable to them and differentiating. Before we get to the things that are also important, and we want to talk about open. So from our perspective, we're also, as we do this, introducing new hardware, new software capabilities of the network that will allow 70% of our network traffic to be over open capable hardware by the end of next year. We're about halfway there. We're about 35%. So significant uplift in our ability to really drive towards openness. So these are unique things. I'm gonna go a little bit deeper. You heard from Nick a little bit just a few minutes ago about the call with Onefinity. This is a landmark moment, and thank you to the Onefinity team for supporting us through that. That was a really great job, and we have an endpoint, not just a journey, but we have more coming. So we're looking forward to, we've now got it covering and carrying commercial traffic in my favorite neighborhood in Dallas, Deep Ellum. Well, for some people. I can see it from my apartment window, so, you know, at the same time, it's an area with a lot of pedestrian traffic, and as we focus on building out a small cell layer with Onefinity in New York and in Phoenix, we have great opportunities to really grow out the network and provide unique capabilities and capacity in the network. But wait, we're not done. Nick is sitting there, and you know he looks fresh and he looks rested today. Otherwise, he is 24/7 worried about us rolling out a new network management suite. And this is going well. It's now carrying commercial traffic, not just managing network elements, but also providing us with the capability to host third-party applications. So I heard some rough words from HCL today. We'll take them in good feedback of how well that experience, that onboarding experience is going for third-party application providers. But I think overall what we are looking forward to is not just an ability to run their apps, but to also run specifically our own apps as we look to retire our legacy platforms that we built ourselves for SON, traditional SON automation. And yes, there's still one more thing. And yes, we are proud today to be carrying commercial traffic on an Ericsson Cloud Route implementation, commercial software that we will GA, hopefully before late this year or early next year. So that's, again, we are very much committed to walking the talk. We're not about anything else. And what we respect about our partnership, I used the word, sorry, with Ericsson is that they also believe in walking the talk. So for those of you that have any doubt or any dispute about whether we're really working on open at AT&T, have a drink with me. I will set you straight. It is monumental in what we're doing, we think, for the industry, but it's monumental finally in what we think it's going to do for our customers, and again, puts us in a position to win. What does that position to win really look like for us? It means an accelerated capability to offer differentiated services to our customers. It means finally to our shareholders and to our stakeholders an opportunity to grow revenue, to grow ARPU. This is what it means to us. This is what we focus on every day. So for those who don't believe in that, okay, go talk to one of our competitors. I can just say, do they have an equivalent story? I don't think so. But the biggest thing for me, and the most exciting thing about last week's set of announcements, I think all of you realize AI RAN does not happen without Open RAN. So for those of you who don't believe, and I see a lot of heads nodding, you understand that we may have crossed a significant landmark event last week with AI RAN. But for me, unfortunately, it's just an announcement. We're doing real things with AI RAN, and we continue to do them. And we're focused on those things that we can do today that are in the network, and we are actively doing that. So it's been an exciting time, a lot of different milestones that we continue to hit, and we have an exciting year planned ahead of us as we scale with Open. We're very excited to be working with the partners we are, and we're looking to expand our ecosystem. All I can say is more to come.
Great. Can't wait. Good. Wow, that was something. So, thank you. So now, Johan, we have to follow up with a question, of course, like, where is Ericsson in all this greatness, right? So how are we enabling AT&T to continue on this journey and to even excel?
No, I think if you sort of start with the easy part, I think like when we signed this deal, there were a lot of stuff we had to do as well as you had to do. And I think like one of the main things is really that we are executing to what we agreed to. And I am quite proud of that. And to Rob's point, if you look at our portfolio, so we are not making this move for AT&T. AT&T is great, but like we need scale as well. So if you look at our portfolio, like more or less all radios we develop today, they are O-RAN capable. More than 2/3 of the radios we sell this year are O-RAN capable. So we are really making this massive shift. And it's really about enabling something new. And then what are we doing on top of that? I think we are doing 3 things that I think are important. One is that we are bringing service awareness into RAN. I talked about that before. A data point is that 90% of the functionality we have in RAN today is service aware. So that means that once we scale up different slices, the functionality we have, it's ready to go. The third thing we are doing, it's really about cloud. So there are 2 or 3 major trends globally. One is cloud, one is AI, and one is connectivity. So for us, it's really sort of key to make sure that we are present in all. And I think introducing our cloud RAN stack and converting that, as well as sort of starting to really invest and see benefits of AI, which we saw today, those are sort of things we're doing in the further out perspective.
Very good. Thank you, Johan. So now I have another question for you, Rob. So I wonder, once you have a great track record, and thanks so much for the trust. Now, could you paint like a picture? What would this transformation, what would it mean for your customers and for the industry further along?
I mean, I think we're looking forward to simplifying how we introduce those new services for our operational engineering partners. And that should translate into customer value because that means we'll have the capability to rapidly introduce a variety of capabilities. In fact, the Taylor Swift example comes up multiple times, and we're excited about the kinds of things that we're thinking about rolling out for the World Cup. Can't give you too much more of a preview on that other than to say some exciting things are planned to essentially give the capability to offer these new services as they're needed and when they're needed. We look forward to further enhancements on what we do specifically for first responder networks and priorities around how we gain them and give them the ability to really consume 5G SA. So that's an exciting thing also for us. And some of you may be familiar with our FirstNet network. But I think from our perspective, we see a lot of different things emerging over the horizon as new capabilities and, frankly, new consumers of our network emerge. We see really, it breaking into three major new domains, which are not people-based. We think, or maybe loosely people-based. We see a lot of emergence in robotics with a variety of different robotic sources, whether they're through manufacturing or potentially even in-home. We see emergence of course, the augmentation from AR, XR goggles. I was admittedly a disbeliever about this, but now we start to see this emerging and the ecosystem is moving pretty rapidly to provide the need for that. So that's going to require us to have more uplink capacity, but provided in a dynamic way. And to have a network which is flexible and programmable and is able to consume that those new streams of information in a meaningful way. We're also running a series of trials, some of which are no longer trials, with self-driving cars and a different number of providers in that domain. So those generate a huge amount of uplink volume. Again, we see a generational kind of impact shift on the uplink coming from a variety of different sources. So these three things create a lot of fear and uncertainty and doubt for the typical radio planner. So what we are trying to help them with is, well, we now have the flexibility to program and shift the network around according to what we need in terms of capabilities and capacity and dynamically manage that. And so we look forward to having those capabilities to really consume that traffic on an as-needed basis.
That sounds great. I can live with a couple of more robots at home. Today I just have a lawnmower. I can do some more. So I guess it's on me to buy some more. So Johan, then, if you want to sum up, where would Ericsson be in this future vision of AT&T's?
No, but I think for us, I talked about it before, but the three main sort of pillars that we are seeing being changed and being at the forefront of the future, it's really cloud, it's AI and connectivity. And it's really the marriage of those that brings something unique. So we will continue trying to lead in those areas. And then the second thing is really, like if I look back how it was 10 years ago, life was simpler. The pace of innovation now is really incredible. But I'm sure like 5-10 years from now, I'll say the same. So the pace will just increase and increase. And thinking that you will solve everything by yourself, I don't, or we don't believe that is a winning concept. So I think it will be more and more important of building partnerships when you go on journeys. And then
this is clearly not rehearsed, right?
And then if there is sort of something that I truly believe myself, and I think that is fairly evident as well, like without technology leadership, you will not be leading. And that, I think, at the end is what you get from Ericsson.
Super. Thank you so much. Thank you, ladies. Okay, so we're almost at top half of the hour, what you would say. So I would just like to super thank you for coming to Ericsson at FYUZ 2025. And looking ahead, next year, someone turns 150. It's not me. Ericsson turns 150 years in 2026. So we would, of course, want to celebrate that together with all of you in some way, shape, or form. But I hope that you have enjoyed this, and it's very clear, at least to me, as we sum this up, that Ericsson cannot do this together. We, of course, believe that we're the technology leader. We take stride, we take a lot of pride into bringing the cutting-edge technologies to the mobile networks, but we also need all of you. We need you as an industry, as our partners, as our customers, and then we will do great things together. Thank you so much for listening.